What if everything you've been taught about money is wrong? Imagine building wealth, breaking free from the paycheck trap, and living life on your terms. That's the promise of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Welcome to Whispers of Wisdom, your go-to channel for audiobooks that transform your life. Today we're diving into Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter, a book that's changed millions of lives by rewriting the rules of money. In the next 35 minutes, you'll discover the foundations of a rich mindset, learn why the poor and middle class struggle, and get practical tools to start your financial journey. Plus, we've got a challenge of the week and wisdom nuggets to make these lessons stick. So grab a notebook, open your mind, and let's rethink wealth together. Stay with me. This is going to shift your entire perspective. Welcome to Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter, a book that challenges everything you've been taught about money. Through the contrasting lessons of two dads, Robert's biological poor dad, a highly educated but financially struggling teacher, and his best friend's rich dad, a savvy businessman, Kiyosaki reveals the mindset that creates wealth. In Part 1, covering chapters 1 through 3, we'll explore the foundations of financial thinking, why the poor and middle class struggle, and how to start thinking like the rich. Let's get started. Chapter 1, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Kiyosaki introduces the two dads who shaped his life. Poor Dad, his real father, had a PhD and a stable job, but always struggled with money, living paycheck to paycheck. Rich Dad, his friend Mike's father, dropped out of school but built a business empire, amassing wealth through smart decisions. The core difference? Their mindset about money. Poor Dad believed in working hard for a salary, saying, "I can't afford it." Rich Dad asked, "How can I afford it?" A question that sparked creative problem solving. Kiyosaki shares a childhood story. At 9 years old, he and Mike wanted to make money. Poor Dad told them to study hard and get a good job. Rich Dad took a different approach, refusing to pay them for work and instead teaching them to think like entrepreneurs. They started a small business recycling comic books, earning their first profits and learning that the rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. Here's a key takeaway. Your financial future isn't about how much you earn. It's about how you think. Poor Dad valued job security. Rich Dad valued financial freedom. Ask yourself, which mindset do you have? For example, if you're a student, do you focus on getting a job, or are you thinking about creating opportunities? This chapter sets the stage for unlearning old money beliefs. Chapter 2, Lesson 1, The Rich Don't Work for Money. Rich Dad's first lesson is that most people are trapped in the rat race, working hard for money, paying bills, and never getting ahead. The poor and middle class work for money, but the rich make money work for them. Kiyosaki shares a story of how Rich Dad taught this lesson. He and Mike worked for Rich Dad at his store for 10 cents an hour, a low wage. Frustrated, they asked for a raise. Rich Dad used this moment to teach them, don't let money control you. He stopped paying them entirely, forcing them to think creatively. That's when they came up with the comic book recycling idea, earning money without a salary. The lesson? Fear and greed keep people stuck. Fear of not paying bills and greed for more stuff. Rich Dad said, don't let emotions drive your money decisions. Instead, focus on building assets, things that put money in your pocket, like businesses or investments. For example, Poor Dad bought a bigger house, a liability costing money, while Rich Dad bought rental properties, assets generating income. Here's a practical step. Start noticing where your money goes. Are you spending on liabilities like fancy gadgets, or saving for assets like a small side hustle? For instance, if you're a young professional, instead of splurging on a new phone, could you save that money to start an online gig? This chapter teaches us to break free from the paycheck trap by thinking differently. Chapter 3, Lesson 2, Why teach financial literacy? Financial literacy is the key to wealth, but schools don't teach it. Kiyosaki explains the difference between assets and liabilities, a concept most people misunderstand. Assets put money in your pocket, for example, stocks, real estate, while liabilities take money out, for example, car loans, mortgages. Poor dad thought his house was an asset, but rich dad pointed out it was a liability. It cost money in upkeep and didn't generate income. Kiyosaki shares a story of a friend who seemed rich. Big house, fancy car, but was drowning in debt. He had no assets, only liabilities. In contrast, rich dad lived modestly, but owned businesses and properties that grew his wealth. The authors introduce a simple rule: buy assets, not liabilities. They also stress the importance of understanding financial statements: income, expenses, assets, liabilities. Most people don't track their money, so they stay broke despite high incomes. Try this. Draw a simple financial statement. For example, if you're a student, could you save $10 a week to invest in a skill-building course? This chapter teaches us that financial literacy, knowing how money works, is the foundation of wealth. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dive into building assets and mastering your money mindset. Now let's get practical with our challenge of the week. This week, I challenge you to create a simple financial statement to kickstart your financial literacy. Here's how. Take 10 minutes to list your income, like your salary or pocket money, your expenses, like rent or food, your assets, like savings, and liabilities, like loans or credit card debt. Then pick one small expense to cut, like skipping a coffee, and redirect that money toward an asset, like saving for a course or side hustle. Welcome to our Wisdom Nuggets segment, where we share bite-sized insights from Rich Dad, Poor Dad to spark your financial growth. Here are 3 powerful quotes from part 1. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. Takeaway: shift your mindset to create income, not chase it. It's not how much money you make, but how much you keep. Takeaway: focus on building assets, not just earning more. Financial literacy is your greatest asset. Takeaway: learn how money works to break free from the rat race. That's a wrap on part 1 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter, right here on Whispers of Wisdom. You've just learned why the rich think differently, how to escape the rat race, and the importance of financial literacy. Isn't it eye-opening to rethink money this way? I want to hear from you. What's one money habit you're changing this week? Drop it in the comments below. I'll reply to my favorites. If this episode shifted your perspective, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for part 2, where we'll dive into building assets and mastering your money mindset. Share this video with a friend who needs a financial wake-up call, and follow Whispers of Wisdom on X and Instagram for daily inspiration. Keep building your rich mindset and keep whispering wisdom to your soul. See you in part 2.